Welcome back to this next module video where we'll be considering some of the social, some of the legal, some of the political potential futures of the Web3 space. This video will hopefully serve to give a sense of some of the opportunities, but also some of the potential challenges that might confront participants as the Web3 ecosystem continues on its evolution towards more mainstream adoption. It is important to consider the sociological impact of Web3 developments and how the inclusivity and exclusivity of a new space may have an impact on those that choose to participate, those that have the ability to participate, and those that may perhaps be ostracized from the developing technologies. It's also important to consider some of the political ramifications of Web3 development and what role the nation state or intra-national jurisdictions or legislation might play in seeking to potentially regulate, control, and direct the evolution of Web3 technologies. So what is the relationship between the nation state, governments, and a decentralized technological movement based on blockchain systems? Certainly, accurately predicting the future of those relationships comes with its own challenges, but suffice to say, where there is growth, potential, and also economic potential, the relationship between technological advancement and politics is certainly going to continue to evolve. It is also important to consider what the legal ramifications of the future of the Web3 space might look like. To what degree are inputs, outputs, and participation regulated from a legal perspective? What redress might be able to be sought through a legal framework that's controlling interactions and transactions within the Web3 ecosystem? And in which jurisdictions might a legislative framework look to and be able to be enforced? Might there be the development of a supra-territorial legislative framework that seeks to potentially control and restrict and regulate transactions and interactions that might occur on blockchain-based Web3 infrastructures? Moving further along from Web3 developments, what might the future of Web4 and Web5 have in our understanding of interaction between computational technologies and individuals? Web4 has often been referred to as the mobile web, which effectively connects all mobile devices both in the virtual and in real-world locations together in real time. Effectively, Web4 technologies enable voice interaction between computers and robots and individuals, and enables users to employ and distribute information regardless of whereabouts the location of the mobile device might be. As such, Web4 is set to recalibrate the relationship between humans and robots towards a greater sense of symbiosis. It is important to note that this Web4 future infrastructure will place greater reliance on robots, technological infrastructures, and machines. And stepping further forward into discussions surrounding Web 5, this form of web will be exceptionally powerful and effectively entirely run on the emotional interaction between humans and computers. It's referred to as the emotional web. And this emotional interface will be predicated on neurotechnology. Within this Web 5 context, users will interact with content that itself interacts with their emotions. Taking a leaf out of history, I think it's important to also consider the history of the development of the internet. It's important to employ this knowledge as we look to predict where Web 3, Web 4, and Web 5 might be heading. We see examples of Web 2 infrastructures, such as MySpace, that whilst they currently still exist, really only lasted a few years before losing its value proposition for its audience. Another example of a product that emerged and eventually was cancelled was Vine, sort of a precursor to TikTok in some respects, a video sharing application that again to some degree lost its value proposition when it was acquired by Twitter. This just goes to hopefully demonstrate that no technologies are too big to fail, and maintaining their relevance with their user base is absolutely vital for their sustainability. In considering sustainability from an environmental perspective, we also have to consider what that means, especially in relationship to the proof of work versus proof of stake consensus mechanisms. Environmental sustainability, mitigating carbon offsets, so important as society continues to develop, and blockchain technologies are likely to continue to migrate more towards proof of stake consensus protocols and mechanisms as they are environmentally much less intensive. The energy that is expended through mining rigs and server farms seeking to mine Bitcoin amongst other assets, it is important for us to seek to mitigate the environmental impact of that expenditure of energy. Additionally, considering the future of the Web3 space, it is also paramount to consider the accessibility of these technologies for the broadest number of individuals looking to participate within these spaces. It is absolutely vital to reduce the instances and circumstances of tech poverty, the inability for individuals to technically access Web3 infrastructures, be that through a lack of a secure or stable internet connection, a lack of affordability of accessibility to the technological hardware such as laptops and smartphones, and also just a lack of awareness of the development of the space, both from a linguistics perspective and also from an economic perspective. Not all countries and communities benefit from high quality, high speed internet access, and it is absolutely vital that we seek to democratize access to high speed information flow infrastructures. Otherwise, the risk that power is concentrated within the hands of first world Western individuals and corporations, which in itself would contradict the democratization ideal of decentralized blockchain infrastructures. On top of this, how might we begin to reduce or mitigate the inherent biases that are associated with language and semantics within the development of the Web3 space, which is asymmetrically biased towards an Anglophone discussion? On top of this, the specific jargon that is often employed for processes, for individuals, for locations within the Web3 space can often be confusing and very difficult to disentangle. We also must consider how much trust we place in the various technologies and services that exist within the Web3 ecosystem. Many of these services or many of these products are presented as open source, community-driven initiatives, but how much faith is it reasonable to place in open source infrastructures that are run by private organizations or individuals with whom the power over their future development and articulation is often invested? How sustainable are their business models for developing and sustaining Web3 open source infrastructures? And should we continue to look critically at power balances that exist within the Web3 space? To take the crypto wallet example, there are many companies that are in this space, many different individuals that are implicated within these companies, and many different business models that exist. Some are private, some are semi-private, some are public, some are open source, and to what degree should we remain critical of their pro bono services that they provide for the Web3 community? It is also important to be aware and acknowledge that no single company or organization within the Web3 space is too big to fail. There are many examples of organizations within the development of blockchain ecosystems that have filed for bankruptcy and negatively impacted the trust that individuals have placed in their products and services. Various organizations enter into the Web3 discussion, often promising to provide a form of solution that is unmatched by any of their competitors. And I think it's important for us to remain critically aware and critically objective about how successful they are in fulfilling these promises in a reasonably unregulated ecosystem. As such, learning lessons from the past in order to gain a clearer understanding of where we are at the moment and where the Web3 discussion might be heading, really important as this nascent industry continues to evolve, to make mistakes and provide fantastic opportunities for future growth potential.